So good morning, everybody. My name is Sol Evangelio. I'm from the UCS training team, and I'm here today with my colleague David Redondo, and we are going to just do a brief refresher on the FM trainings that most of you already received in the past few years, LPE, LPP's trainings. So we are going just to refresh and review the main concepts. This training will consist on 2 sessions, today and tomorrow, 2 hours each. And at the end of these sessions, if you want to get a certificate of completion of this training, you will have to pass a very, very easy assessment of 10 questions that you will have available tomorrow, okay? What are we going to cover in this training? We are going just to refresh. As you know, funds management is the module in UMOJA that is used to monitor revenues and expenditures and budget-related business transactions. So we will mainly cover the primary task that you guys as FM users should know how to do, recording appropriations and revenue allocations, allotments, tracking expenditures for individual areas, monitoring very special this part, because you know that reporting in funds management is very important, monitoring funds movements and availability of budget, processing budget entry documents, certification processes, and as I already said, especially report, check what you are doing and monitor, and especially thinking about financial statements as well, and have everything properly recorded in the system. So today, as the first day, we are going to do a quick review of the FM master data. We will see the budget distribution transactions in the system, and theoretically very quickly. Then we will see the main ECC reports that you probably will use in your daily job, especially FMEDDW and all postings. And we are going to start with one very interesting information for you guys. Let me share the presentation with you. Some budget changes that you have to be aware of, probably you already are, but some budget changes for peacekeeping in the P19 budget period. We are going to review it very quickly because, as I mentioned, you already probably know everything, but let's go and review these changes. What we are going to review now was presented by Amra and Elizabeth Turnbull. They are in OPPDA section in June 2018. So probably you already attended this. I am not very sure, but we are going to review it very quickly. So there have been some budget changes for this budget period, P19 and peacekeeping. And all master data in UMOJA has been updated accordingly to reflect these new structures and reporting requirements. Let's go. First change. Military contingents. A new budget line called Contingent Marine Operations has been created to identify resources in relation to military marine operations. You see, this is under class FT20 2010, and there is one new commitment item called CSS Military Con Marine Operation. You see, this is the new commitment item. So this is one of the changes. Let's go to the second one. Consultants and consulting services. There is new budget line. There are new budget lines, individual consultants and consulting services, to improve visibility for consultancy, operations. They are under this FT20 class 25, you see, and here you have the 2 new lines. Next one, facilities and infrastructure. Safety and security equipment and supplies now include, sorry, I changed the slide. Construction, alteration, and renovation and major maintenance were merged into one budget line. You see, before we had these two budget lines, alteration and renovation services, and architectural and demolition services, and now these two lines are merged into this new one, construction, alteration, and let me see, remove maintenance. You see, this is one new change, and now is the one that I was talking before. Facilities and infrastructure. We have 4 new commitment items: ammunition and uniform, bands and gear. So we have now a consolidated view of security-related acquisitions. See, we have these ones with the red arrow. These are new commitment items: invent uniform, badge and gear, invent ammunition, consume uniform, badge and gear, and consume ammunition. Okay, let's jump to the next one. For me, this is one of the most important, is communication and information technology. Before, we had 2 classes, the class FT20 class 130 and FT20 135, communication and information technology. Now, these 2 classes has been merged or combined, and there is no clear definition between the two, and we have a new class, FT20 class 139. See, communication and information technology. If you try to do any operation in or regarding any of these 2 classes, you will receive an error in the system and you will not be able to proceed. At the end of this small presentation, I will explain you exactly how to proceed with these 2 classes if you have to do any operation. But this is a very important change. Okay, let's go ahead. Other supplies, services, and equipment. We have new budget lines for individual contractual services, you see, and implementing partners and grant. Don't worry about this because you will receive this presentation if you are not aware of these changes. So you will have specifically all the changes. Here you see is under this class in the 150 and the new 2 new budget lines. Let's move to the next one. Here we have how to process allotments and redeployments. For P18, redeployments for these 2 classes, the 130 and 135, should be issued to the old classes, but P18, remember. For P19, redeployment should be done using the new class 139. P19 allotments connected with contingent marine operation should be issued to this new class, and that currently is applicable only to UNIFIL. And P19 allotments for uniform, badge, and gear should be issued to this new class as well. Okay? Good. And just let me, for BI, for those of you that are BI reporting users, tomorrow we will cover some BI reports as well. But if you want to see all these changes updated in the system, there is a new commitment item group only for BI reporting purposes, FMGRP PK1. And this is the one that you have to select if you want to see or to take into consideration all these new changes for this P19 period. Okay? So I think that's it. As I mentioned before, don't worry about these changes because you will have the presentation with you if you want to have a look. And now we are going to review FM, the module of funds management. I forgot to tell you, if you have any question or doubt, please, you can address it in the chat to all panelists, because David will be monitoring them, and we will try to answer all your questions. If we cannot do it during the presentation, we will try to do it at the end of the session. But please, if you have further doubts, just write it and address the questions to all panelists. So let's go to our refresher. Let's start. Funds management master data. We have some elements that are referenced within FM, and it's very important to know all of them, what they are, because the combination of these master data elements will be the budget address. The budget address is very important. You have to understand the concept very well, and we will review it here today as well, because the address determines where the budget is. If you want to do any kind of operation with the budget, you have to specify very well the budget address. If not, you will get errors like this: overall budget exceeded. Maybe you know very well what you are doing, but you change it unintentionally, one of the components of the budget address, and this change will completely change the whole operation that you want to do. So you have to understand very well each and every master data element that composes the budget address. Let's start. First of all, we have the fund. The fund is the source of the budget and represents the foundation for tracking, controlling, and reporting. You know that for special political missions, the fund starts with 10, for peacekeeping with 20, and then related with the grants, we have the internal, external, and auxiliary funds, the 32, 33, and 62 funds. Okay. Next master data element that you have to know, the budget period. This is the period of validity for budgetary transactions. You know that for peacekeepings, it goes from the 1st of July to the 30th of June of the next year. And there is a biennial budget period as well that goes from the 1st of January of an even year and ends the 31st of an odd year. Biennial budget periods begin with B, and peacekeeping budget periods begin with P. Okay. Fund center, the area of responsibility. The fund center is the organizational unit within a FM that controls a budget. What does it mean? This fund center is linked, directly one-to-one basis to one cost center, and the budget is consumed as postings to fund centers with committed and actual values. You have to know this very well. Fund center is a key in the budget address, Let's go to the next one, commitment item, the nature of the expenditure. This represents revenue and expenditure lines, items within FM. We are going to jump it very quickly because we will see deeper the concept of commitment item as well, now a little bit later. Functional area is the programmatic view used to classify revenues and expenditures of our organization by function. Okay, provides the programmatic view from a budgetary perspective, and it's used to determine UN IPSA segments. It's linked directly with the fund center. One fund center is linked to one functional area, and remember the programmatic view, but very important as well. Okay, and to finish, we will see the funded program. This is the program for operational purposes with determined time frame. Okay, so these are the elements. explained like that, it will sound very strange to you. We are going to see an example. For example, let's consider a scenario where UN General Assembly passed the resolution to establish a new mission in Mali, let's say MINUSMA. Within FM, we would have the following master data elements. A fund would be United Nations mission in Mali, MINUSMA. Budget period, in this example, P14. Fund center, for example, the area of responsibility, MINUSMA transport section. An example of commitment item would be the transport service rental ground vehicle. Functional area, TKN, transport logistics, as I mentioned before, is directly linked with the fund center, the functional area. And in this case, we would not have any funded program, so the funded program would be not relevant. Okay, this is an example of these master data elements. Let's go down to explain how these elements connect with each other to create the budget address. As I mentioned before, the budget address determines where the budget is, where it's allotted, where it's committed, where it's pre-committed, or where it has been spent. Okay, let's go examples. Here you have two examples of budget address. First of all, we have the grant. I didn't mention the grant as an FM master data element because it is a grant management master data element, but you know that the budget can be allotted to grants as well, so then a grant can be involved in this process. In this case, we are going to assume that it's not relevant, so GM not relevant. Perfect. Let's go. Next element is the fund. In this case, 20 NUA. Budget period, P19. Fund center, 10159. Commitment item, here you have. This in the FI module of the system, this would be the GL account, but in funds management, it's called the commitment item. Functional area, you see, and the funded program. In this first example, it's not relevant. In the second example, we have a funded program where at the very end of this path, we will find, or we will allot, or we will commit some budget. Okay? So this path will guide us and will point to one budget, as I mentioned, allotment, commitment, pre-commitment, whatever we have. More examples. Here we have, this is very important. Do you see the difference between this bunch of budget addresses and these two? Here we have a commitment item, and here a commitment item class. What's the difference? A commitment item class comprises several commitment items. We are going to explain this now as well because I want you to understand it very, very well. So if you understand this budget address properly, you have half of your job done properly. Okay. So here we have, this is a budget address as well, as valid as this one, but probably this is a budget address for one allotment, and this is for one expenditure or commitment. Why? Because budgets are given to a class of commitment items, but actual expenditures of budgets are done at commitment item level. So both are valid, but they are indicating different things. Okay? Let's see the last one, just for you to see an example of a grant. So this is a budget address with the grant involved in it. Very important. The fund involved in a grant process is 32 DDN, 33 DDN, or 62 RPS. In this case, we have the 32 DDN. So you see, the budget address is always the same elements. The order can be changed because we will see now one report where you will see it very well. You can change the order to display the information in the best way for you or for the task you have to perform, but all these elements have to be properly combined. So, David, do you want to add something about this budget address?
Good morning, this is David. Thank you, Sol. Yes, well, actually, that what you are saying is really, really important, because most of the issues that we have seen since we implemented it, they are related to not understanding properly budget addresses, or maybe confusing some of the elements. So I think this is a very good explanation about it, and absolutely most of the times what we face in production are situations where the budget has been allotted to one place, and then people processing transactions, they are getting budget availability errors, and they get confused because they know they have budget and it's available, and then they contact normally FMLPs about it. So it's not only important that you master it, and I'm sure looking at the names that we have connected today on the session, you will master this part, but also people performing transactions that are pre-committing funds typically, they need to understand basically that, or when they have an issue, they have to report to you the full budget addresses. Okay, very important when we are using grants. Sometimes we get confused because we see the budget is available, but not proper. Maybe the grant is not properly selected, or when they can enter a functional area manually, sometimes they don't enter the functional area properly. For example, this is typical from travel, and they see budget available under fund center. So just remember that the budget is never allotted to a particular fund center. It's to a combination of all these elements. So whenever someone wants to check if they have budget, they have to pay attention to the full address, right? That is very easy to understand if we think about the budget period. But also regarding to the fund, and if we are running through asset under construction project as well, it's very important that we check all the elements, and we are fully aware of all of them. So thank you, Sol, because that slide is a very good one, and I think will help them a lot to also share this awareness of the budget address.
Thank you, David. So as David was mentioning, you don't have to stop here. Okay, I have budget in this fund center. Okay, but what else? We need a commitment item class or a commitment item, a functional area, and a funded program. Even if it is not relevant, the budget address doesn't stop with the fund center, because then you will get many problems. Okay, now we will see this report, but before, one report that will show very well this budget address. But before, I want to talk about the commitment items structure, because you have to understand this very well as well. What is a commitment item group, a commitment item class, and a commitment item itself? As I mentioned before, the spending of budget is at commitment item level, but the allotment is at commitment item class. For example, we have an example in this slide. When a purchase order is raised in SRM to purchase medical equipment, the commitment item, this one, fixed asset medical equipment cost, is associated or linked to this purchase order. However, budgets will not be given to a specific commitment items, but rather to a class of commitment items. What does it mean? We will have the budget in this commitment item class, and it could be spent through these commitment items. You know, when you will spend, you will have to select one of these commitment items. Okay, so a class comprises several commitment items. David, yeah.
Just to reinforce that concept, that is very important that we are all aware of that. Right, exactly, because when we are going to analyze budget allotments, we will do it by class, but then we want to check actuals. Sometimes you ask us by email, okay, I want to see the actual for this class, right? But then when you go, for example, to all posting, you have to be aware of that the entries, or even in the budget availability control FMEDDW, the T code, that you will not see the class right there. You have to go either by group, or you have to go by commitment item by entering all of them. So you always have to remember what Sol is saying. The actual is done at commitment item level, while the allotments, right, Sol, they are done at commitment item class level. So that's the important difference when you're running reports. Also, when you go to BI, remember what you want to, or think twice what you want to analyze. If you want to analyze actuals, you will need to work with the commitment items. So a bit deeper in the hierarchy.
Thank you, David. Thank you. So let's move ahead. We have seen what is a commitment item class and a commitment item, but over these two levels, we have the commitment item group. As you can see here, commitment item classes are put together and groups by commitment item groups. For peacekeeping, we have 4 groups. We have military and police personnel, peacekeeping civilian personnel, peacekeeping operation costs, and peacekeeping pro-related costs. And for example, you have here one example. This group comprises all these commitment item classes. And after this, each of these classes will comprise a bunch or a group of commitment items. So we have seen the group, the class, the commitment item. And this next slide, summarizes very well these concepts. Here we have, this is a display from the system, from the UMOJA system. We have with this T code, FMEDDW 3, we can display the commitment item group structure. So as you can see, we have 4 commitment item groups, the 4 groups that we have seen in the previous slide. Under each commitment item group, we find the commitment item classes. See? Here we have the commitment item classes. So if we jump to the right side of the screen with the T code FMCIE, you can see the commitment items hierarchy. So what do we find here? Which commitment items fall under each commitment item class? See, you can open if you want, we can watch it in the system later on. So here you see, under this class 145, we have these commitment items. So we have the classes, and under the classes, the commitment items. Very important. The class FT20-100. This class comprises several commitment item classes, and allotment to commitment item classes under this one are automatically rolled up to the super commitment item class 100. You see? This is called a commitment item superclass. In UMOJA system, we have only one commitment item superclass. This is the 100, and comprises all these classes. You can see all these classes. If you compare this side of the screen with this one, all these classes fall under this peacekeeping operation cost group. Okay. So we have this superclass with the classes and commitment items at the very end of it. So I hope you understand now the question, the groups, commitment item groups, commitment item classes, and commitment items at the very end, the leaves of the tree, of the whole tree. David, do you want to add something?
Maybe an extra comment about what you were mentioning that is very important regarding the superclass. So remember that, as I was saying, the allotment is done at class level, right? In this case, it can be, you can even allot at the class, for example, 020 or 110, etc. However, the budget control in the system is defined at class level. So even if when the actual is recorded, it's done at commitment item level, if as long as there are budget available at the class 100, the system will not give you budget errors. So it's very important that also when you, if you want to control the expenditure at the subclasses, that's all is checking, right? It is all is displaying. For example, information technology, medical, etc. Remember that the system will allow the users to charge over the allotted amount at the subclass level, as long as the operational expenditure class 100 has funds. So that's why you have to monitor this one, and then be aware that the budget control is defined at class level, or in this case at the superclass, so at the highest level, right? And then the expenditure are done at commitment items, so you can get reports separately by commitment item subclass, but the system will not stop them from going beyond that. Okay, so just at this point that this particular thing, because sometimes we received questions saying that, oh, we are allowing over expense on this class or this class, and yeah, because the control is at the class 100 level. So below that, the system allows certain flexibility, and I think that's important for you to keep in mind as FM LPs or FM users.
Thanks a lot, David. And just one more point before we will jump into the system. Look, for example, this part here, the class 305, the prorated cost, for example. If you have allotted some budget in this at this class level, because remember that allotments are done at class level, and you want to create a pre-commitment, a commitment, a shopping cart, whatever, or travel request that will charge this, this class, you have to use one of the commitment items that fall under this class. If by mistake you type a wrong commitment item again, or you put another one, the system will give you budget availability, overall budget exceeded, or something like that. You will say, oh, but this is correct. This is my cost center or my fund center. I'm writing everything properly. No, be careful, because you should be very aware of if it allotted at this commitment item class, you should only spend in these commitment items that fall under this class. That's why it's very important. Probably you know them by heart, but for example, for me, it was just to check which GLs are under this, so I'm doing the right thing. I'm sure that I'm creating the proper budget address. Okay, so what before just moving into the system, because we are going to see one very important report. Any question related to this budget address, to the master data, to the classes, commitment item classes, groups, and super classes? Do we have any question, David?
No, we have not received any question through the chat yet. Just to remind you that if you have, okay, there is a question from Emil in the Q&A. Anyway, yeah, if you remember, if you want to write a question, address it to all panelists. So the question was actually from a while ago, I think. Okay, so they're asking the new class, the 139, newly established as part of the changes made in P19, doesn't have GLs mapped into it yet. If you are aware of any reason for that. So this is a question regarding 139. The class 139, there are no GLs mapped to it. So there are commitment items, but there are no GLs. So I know that's something that maybe we can address to onward. Yeah. So this is a good question, but it's more business oriented and regarding the question. So we'll address it to EMRA, and then we will forward together with the materials. Okay, that it has to do more with the way they have decided to implement this. But very good point. Huh? Thank you, Emil, for the question.
Thank you, Emil. Yeah. So let's jump into the system if you don't have further questions, and we are going to just let me change the client. I'm going to the planning environment because I have prepared a set of data, not so complex, for you to see clearly what we want to show you. Just let me log in. And later on, if you want, you can check in production. introduction, your own, at this, I'm sure you know it very well. Very important report, FMEDDW. This is very, very important. It's the display of budget availability. I'm going to go quite quick because I'm sure you know it. Here you have to change to the control layer set 1, that is the UN standard availability. And we are going to focus now in the Fund 20 OLA and the budget period P19. And let's go and see what information we have in this report. Here we have, you see, we have selected already a grant, not relevant in this case, fund and budget period, and we have here a summary of what we have for this fund. We have consumable amount, this amount, consumed $20,000, and available amount is the difference between these two numbers. Okay, let's drill down a little bit to see what we have. First of all, we find the budget grouped by cost center. Let's open, sorry, fund center in this case. Sorry that I'm always mixing, but now we are in the funds management module. We are going to talk about fund centers. We have this first fund center. We drill down. We have this class, this budget class. We can continue drilling down. This functional area that, as I mentioned before, is usually linked to the fund center. And if we continue drilling down, fund program not relevant. You see, it sounds familiar to you. This is the budget address. You see, the fund commitment item, the functional area, and the funded program. Here we have split it in years because you know this budget periods comprise 2 years, 2018 and 2019. In this case, for 2018, we don't have any budget allotted or consumed. And if we select here and we click on this drill down, here it comes. You see, let me open it. You can see here the budget addresses that we have. Here we have a consumed amount, $5,000, and if you come here, you can see the whole budget address, the budget address for this consumption. Here we have the commitment item, and if you compare this address with these ones, you see that here we have the commitment item class. Why? Because here we don't have consumption. This has been allotments, probably. Later we will see with all posting reports what has happened. But here we have allotments, no consumptions. Consumptions are always linked to a final commitment item or GL account in a file. Okay? So this is one of the things that we were checking before. So this report is really, really useful. Let me drill down one more. For example, here we have two classes, the 100, the super class, and here, as you can see, the class 100 is not split. If you try to see what is allotted to each of the subclasses, it's not split. So you have everything, as David very well explained, under this super class 100. Again, here we don't have any consumption. So if we drill down, we find only a class with an allotment that was done at the beginning. Okay? Just let me tell you something else about it. When you execute this report, you can customize it a little bit regarding the operation of the information that you are looking for. Here you have a button, I don't know if you knew this, layout options. These layout options will determine how the information will be grouped. By default, as you can see, we have the grant, the fund, the budget period, the cost. The budget period is already entered here, but the fund center, the commitment item, functional area, and funded program. This is the order in which we will find the information when we start drilling down. But imagine that by any reason you need, I don't know, to see, for example, the drill down by funded program. So you just have to come here and split first by funded program, for example, and the grant that is not relevant, maybe you know that, you put it in the last place. So let's execute our, and if we drill down, you see, we have the grouping done first by funded program. In this example, it's very easy. I prepared this data just for you to see it very clearly. We have the funded program not relevant with all the information, and this funded program created. So we can split, and then we will find the cost centers linked to this funded program relevant, and here we will have this cost center that is linked to this funded program. Then you can continue drilling down. David, do you have anything to add? It's okay? Okay. And you can, you see, display the same information but grouped in a different way. Let me go back again. Remember that in this report, you just have consumable, consumed, and available amount. If you want to see further information related to this report, you have to double click on the final line. For example, this one. Let's see what this $200,000 means. We will double click on it. Later on, David will explain properly. But you see, this is an allotment. You can see very easily what this transaction is about. You can imagine that this is an allotment. Why? Because the budget address contains a commitment item class instead of a commitment item. Let me find a commitment item here. Where it is, the here, one consumption. Let's go. Let me show you. Drilling down. No, it's not here. The screen is far from me. I don't find it properly. Let me show you just how it shows, and later on the bit after the break, we will explain you more about it. Let me double click here. You will find information about this. You see, it's a fund commitment that is committing this amount. But as I mentioned, he will explain it totally better than me after the break. So, what else about this report? Just let me show you something else very important. If we go again to the layout options, remember that we have changed it because, for example, we wanted to see, first of all, the funded programs linked to our mission or to our fund. But now we are going to reverse this change. And we want, for example, to focus on the functional area. Let me display by functional area. Let me put this in at the first level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is the one? And let me put this as the 6th. And something very important, that is the thing that I wanted to show you. Here you can decide if you see the functional area, the budget period, or the name or the description. For example, functional area are not very intuitive. You cannot find out what it is. So let's check the functional area descriptions instead of the names. Let's execute the report. And now at first level, you see, we should have the different functional areas. Now, this makes sense for you guys, and even for me, that I'm not a budget expert, but this makes sense, not BD whatever. So you can easily drill down and understand the information that you are watching. Okay? So, David, you want to add?
Yes, I wanted to add something that from the system is a bit maybe misleading. Can you go back 1 second?
Yes.
So in the layout options, when they see a name, it actually means the code right? Because what the system is understanding, the description is like the long name of the fund center. For example, if we check fund center description, we will see let's say the title of the section, right? But if we leave the option fund center name selected, we will not see really the name, but the system will show is only the code, right? The 16 something. So normally when we run the report, people are very happy to see what Sol is explaining, because these layout options were not so explored during the first LPs trainings, and this is something important. But remember that when you see name, you will see the code. What you see description is where you get all the information that you want to identify easily. For example, what accounting, what SAU you want to monitor. Okay, so that was the small comment. And regarding if you run it, regarding the point of the allotment.
Just let me. Here we are.
So in one of the allotments that you were displaying, that you saw that it was at the class level.
Let me, for example, one here.
Yes. Okay, so you were mentioning that the budget address was very important, so they can see that it's done at the class level.
At the class level.
If they take a look to the impact, the amount is fully impacting the consumable column, right? It's not touching consume, it's not touching available. This is, you identify that this is just increasing the consumable amount, which is the allotment. And that is a difference with the actual that you will see. It's impacting only the consumed amount and the available. So any other line that you could display, but this is probably for them, they are already aware of this, but just was a small comment.
Okay, and something else very important, this report will help you a lot when you have to perform budget operations. For example, redeployments, for example, fund commitments. You want to commit a budget, but you don't know exactly the budget address. You can open here and find out what you want. For example, here for this class, I want to do create a pre-commitment in the system. So you already have all the budget that you need in this, all the information that you need is for the budget address, but the commitment, the final commitment item. So you can go with FMCIE. Let me open it. FMCIE. Let's select the variant peacekeeping, and here let me, because I don't remember the here we are, the class FT20 class 1. Sorry, I selected the 100. Doesn't matter. So imagine there is one of these classes. So is not directly this example is the 105, but you could see here very easily. Imagine that. Let me find out the 105. I don't see what it is now. Imagine that you want to create a pre-commitment for this 105 budget address. You should use one of these commitment items, not any that you want, because if not, the system will complain. So it's very useful to have this report open here. And if you don't know the commitment items, probably you do. So you will be sure that you will not make any mistake when typing the budget address in your operations. Same as for redeployments. Let me come here again, select a different one. You want to do a redeploy, again 100, no, 100, just let me take one. All of them are 100, this one. You want to create a redeployment. Here, you can come and check out the redeployment is done at class level. So you just have to select from this class, for example, to this other class. Maybe the example doesn't make any sense for you from the business point of view, but you can open and say, okay, have I money enough to transfer from here to here? Yes, so I can proceed using this budget address as source and this budget address as destination and you will be sure that your transaction will go smoothly because the budget address is correct. David, something to add?
No, basically you have to insist on what you're saying, because the drilling down on this report is essential and very important for them to see the full budget address where the budget was allotted. Not because the budget could be in the wrong place, but because when people are submitting transactions, they may select they may select the wrong product ID that may trigger the wrong commitment item, and they may not have, they may get a budget error, so availability problem. So when you come to this, and then normally people make a superficial analysis, they come here and they say, I do have budget in the fund center 10066. So I don't know why I'm not getting my money. And I do have budget on the class that I'm selecting. So basically when they get the budget error, in the budget error, they will receive the budget address this FM ledger is trying to post to. So when they get a budget error, the system tells them there is no budget available, and then they get the full budget address. With that full budget address, they will see the commitment item, and then they can go to FMCIE, right?
Let me open here. Yeah.
So this one is the full hierarchy, but there is also the other one.
Yeah. Let me just execute like that without the insert. Here it is, the full one.
Okay. If we go to the other one, to the FMCIE, so where they can see.
This is the other groups one.
So this one, can you display the ticket?
Yes, let me, where it is here.
Yeah. So if you go with FMCIC, sorry.
CIC, sorry. FMCIC.
They can, if they get the error, they can enter their the commitment item, and they will see.
Yes. Let's select one. Just let me select one for you.
So bottom line is, when they get budget error, they should take the full budget address. So do not ask them, okay, what fund center are you using? Oh, there is money there. There should be money. You have to get the full budget address. So you can take any commitment item.
Just let me take one from here.
So they will get from the error, right? So if you get, so if they are trying to post that commitment item, this 7464 whatever.
74. Let me write it down. 7464. I get 3050. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to FM6.
So when they get, it's just to insist on the idea of the importance of the budget address. So when they get the error, they will not. It doesn't mean there is no money. What it means is there is no money for that particular budget address, the full address, right? So when they get the full address, since the system is trying to post a commitment that is on at commitment item level, they will get the commitment item, but they will not know the class. So then from there, you can extract the class and then go to the other report and see if there is budget on the particular class. So this step from the commitment item to the class, it has to be done in a reverse way to find out if there is budget available. But again, the point is, check the full budget address, check the functional area as well, because when they get budget error, if you take the full address, you can go to budget availability report and enter all the budget address and see if really there are funds there or not, and then make the analysis if the budgets that were not allotted or they are selecting the wrong product ID. Maybe it's not aligned. So in that report that's all is showing, that is also their commitment item. You can get the hierarchy, the commitment. You were showing it, right? The class.
Yeah, here you have for peacekeeping the U20, exactly. And for special political missions the U10. So you can get the right class to compose, let's say, the right budget address.
Exactly. To check, to double check with where the budget was allotted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my comment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, David. Yes, very good comment, because I forgot about this T code, and it's the other way around. You can see with FMCIE the commitment items under a commitment item class, but if you don't know the class, you can come here and get it with this T code. Okay, so any doubt up to this point and regarding this report? Do we have any?
There is a question from our friend Ermias asking if it's possible to extract the info from this report, the FMEDDW to Excel. And I don't think it's possible, and that is very, I mean, Sol will explain, I think, tomorrow about the BI report. But it's, for me, it's key for FM officers, from budget officers and FMLPs that you master the BI side, because the reports there are so much better than what you can, let's say, analyze in ECC. So yeah, basically you cannot extract it, and it's better to go to BI. Also for all posting that we will see after the break, performance is much better in BI. So yeah, the ECC has certain limitations, and for you that you do mostly analysis and planning, I think it makes sense to work from BI as well. It's possible, I think, to get a printout out of it, but you cannot.
No, not extracted.
And then if you get it anyway, if you manage to extract it to Excel, will be in a format that you will not be able to manipulate it. So let's use BI especially, and you will see the real power of the tool.
Okay, so thanks a lot, David. And now we are going to do a quick break of 5 minutes, and later on we will see the main budget distribution operations, the old posting reports. That is very, very interesting and very important too. And I think that's it for today, but let's break for 5 minutes because I think all of us need it, and see you at 11:05, okay? Thank you.
I think they are useful for you, they are important, and also the type of analysis can be done from BI if you want to do it with more data. So Sol was explaining before the FMEDDW, which is oriented to see what is the available budget. And now we're going to analyze both the commitments and the actuals. So we're going to start from the commitment point of view. So this is a report that you can use to see any committed amount, because of course from the budget availability report, you know and you remember that the consumed amount will consider both commitments and actuals, and then for performance reasons or for monitoring, sometimes most of the times, let's say you want to distinguish between the commitments and the actuals. So the T code that we are going to use, I'm going to share the screen. Sorry, let me try to share the screen. 1 second. 1 second. Did you change my row to presenter? So okay. So 1 second. Just give me 1 second because I'm having some technical problems. Share my desktop. Okay. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen. It should come. Okay. So the T code that we are going to use, it's similar to all posting, but it's particularly relevant for commitment items. And then we're going to show something that Sol was explaining to me a few days ago, which is very important, and I'm not sure that LPs are aware of this functionality, so it's going to be a good improvement, I think. The T code is FMRP, RFF, MEP, 10X. Okay, so do you want to add something? Okay, so remember, see this T code. The normal T code that you use for all posting, it's ending in AX. This one is ending in OX. Okay, so this one is the one for commitments. So if I run this report, you will see in the header of the T code it says commitments. Okay. So we are going to run this report for a particular fund. In this case, the example is with UNGSC, but of course you can do it for your mission. And the type of analysis that we want to do is getting the full picture of funds commitment or travel commitment for a particular, let's say, budget class. In our example, we are going to take the class 105, which is the one for travel, right? So if let me just go to one presentation that I have here that to show to you the class that we are going to use. So in our case, we want to get the okay, 1 second. So here is basically you can see all the commitment items that this class has. So let's say that you can use this report to analyze all fund commitments, but you will need to specify a list of commitment items or a budget class. Okay, this is the thing that was very important. You can, before when we started using this report, we were always coming to commitment items and we were entering here the list of commitment items. We used to use even multiple selection if we were to select, we wanted to select several commitment items. But you can use the input group to specify the budget, the commitment item class. Okay. So in our scenario, the one that we want to run, I want to run a report to see all the commitments for travel. So if I go to the T code as I was explaining before, this FMCIC, right, or CIE, sorry, we can get the hierarchy. Okay, sorry, I did not select the variant. Let's say it's peacekeeping. So we may want to analyze only the ones for official travel. So it is 105. Now the report and the way that we are going to use it, you can do it for any other class. So don't think this is a report to analyze only official travel commitments. If you want to get the list of commitments for information technology or medical or communication, it's just a matter of selecting a different class. Okay. For this example, we want to analyze official travel commitment, and then we will analyze official travel expenditures. So everything is under class 105, or it's this list of commitment items. So we go to the report that I was mentioning before. Just 1 second, I'm trying to go to the here. So I don't know if I had 2 windows or 2 screens, otherwise just let me go back. And then FMCI, this FMRP. Here it is, the T code ending with WebEx. So we are selecting the fund, and then as commitment item class, this is the class. If you don't know exactly how to, let's say, write it, you can click on the match code, and then you will get the full commitment item, or let's say the full hierarchy. So you can go. It's very important that you pay attention that if you are for peacekeeping, you have to check FT20. If it's if you're an SPM, you do FT10, right? This is related to the variant. So the example that I wanted to select is 105, so the one for the travel. Okay, so then we have here the class of official travel. Sorry. Okay, so it's 105. You can even search here by the name FT20 _ 105. So this is the one that we are going to use. Okay, this is very useful, I think, because we used to run this report in the early days by entering the list of commitment items, but we can run it for the full class. I hope this is useful, and not sure if there is any questions. So can you check if it's clear, because this is something new. You can check the participants. Yeah. And then in order to run the report, if we want to analyze for P19, we will enter the period. And then the other key point for you, if you want to understand properly this report, is the fiscal year period. Now, do you think we have to select here, because this is for P19, do you think we have to select here from July 2018 to June 2019? Okay, feel free to reply in the chat. So if we want to analyze for this fund, 20 plus travel commitments on P19, shall we select from 2018 July to 2019 June? Do you think this is the proper selection? Okay. If you can please answer to me from the chat. So shall I select from 2019 July to 2019 June? Okay, I see some people are replying already.
1 minute, just to confirm. Can you? To confirm that you are hearing us, because I found that some of you guys could not hear us. But we have time. Thanks a lot.
Okay, some people are replying yes. So the answer is not really yes, because what you are defining here, if you say from July to June, I know why you want to enter July to June, because you want to align it with the budget period, okay? So, but you may have some commitments created before July. So this fiscal year period is a filter from the system regarding when the transaction was performed. So you may perform a transaction for P19, but you may do the fund commitment a few days before, or you may have the actual few days after, right? So it's better if you are already filtering by budget period, it is better if you make the filter for the fiscal year and period less, let's say, restrictive, because anyway, the information will be filtered by budget period. So what you don't want to be very conservative on these inputs, because you may lose some postings or some commitments that were created maybe on 27th of June. Okay, actually Gregory gave a very good explanation. And then sometimes also you have even an advanced allotment. So the advice is, as I was saying, please use the budget class, the commitment item class in the group. And then if you are filtering already by budget period, do not be very conservative on this fiscal year period filter. Remember always to remove the maximum number of hits, so you don't miss any data, okay? And then run the report. Depending on the number of the transactions, on the size of your mission, and on the budget period, and the number of, let's say, transactions that were performed, this report can take quite. Can you hear me?
No, yes, you're back.
Okay. Yes. So what I was saying is that this report in ECC can take a while, depending on the size of your mission. So even though we're going to explain here, and this is very good for your monitoring activities on the, let's say, weekly or daily checks that you do, you can also do this from BI, yeah? And we will see it. We'll see it tomorrow. So while the report is running, let me just summarize what I was doing from this report here. Give me 1 second. We go to the presentation that I had prepared. Okay, and I opened the. Okay, so what we did basically, let me put this in presentation mode while the report is running. So what we used was this T code, right? FMRP. FMEP10X, we enter the fund, the budget period, and the fiscal years. And then instead of selecting all the commitment items, what we used was this the group, right? To display the commitment item class. I think that's better for you than going with all the commitment items one by one. And now what we will expect to see is all the business trips commitments. Why we will see business trip commitments? Because we were filtering by the class 105. Okay, the report finished already. So here is the data that we are extracting. Okay, as you see, we have here different commitment items because we are filtering by commitment item class. And then what we have is basically the list of business trip commitments. So if we want to see what is the amount that is currently committed, what we can group by reference document number. All right, this reference document number in this particular example is a travel request because we are filtering by commitment item class 105. All this is related to travel. But remember, what we are explaining is not only for travel. If we had applied a filter by a different class, we will have different type of commitments. If we had selected, for example, equipment, materials, or other type of I don't know, assets, you will have here probably purchase orders. But in the same way, from here we could jump. So let's see, for example, let's group by reference document number, so we get the full list of travel commitments. Okay. In order to group by this travel request, you need to select the column and click on this subtotals button, and then we'll have the system that is grouping them. All these are commitments, okay? And since we are applying subtotals, you see for every commitment a total amount. If you see 0, it's because the commitment was created, but it became an actual later, so there is nothing committed by this travel request. Even from this report, if you want, if you double click on the number of the travel request, and this is very important for you, not everybody is aware of this, and then when we are analyzing travel requests, we get a bit crazy. From this report, if you double click on the travel request number, on this reference document number, the system takes you to the ECC version of the travel request, where you can see all the details. Okay, even the person that is traveling, the reason, the type of expenditures, everything. Okay, the person that is traveling, this index number, everything. So this is a very good report for you to have a good picture of the commitments. Then if I go down, all the way down to the report, and I collapse, I will easily see what funds commitments were completely processed, the travel already took place, and we can see where we have open amounts. For example, I see here, in this travel, I see an open amount. Now, before anybody tells me, because when I always analyze this report, I always get a comment from someone that is an expert on this one. Remember that in ECC, and this is something we explained when we were implementing the travel module, there are two types of commitments that are coming from travel. You have statistical commitments and you have real commitments. Statistical are the commitments that are done before the travel request is approved. So if you are doing an analysis from a budget officer perspective, probably you want to see the actual one, right? The real impact in FM. In order to see that, you need to filter by a statistical indicator. Okay, so we will do that. So basically, these are all what you see here are all the travel requests. Okay, but in order to evaluate properly what amounts are open or what not, we need to only see the real impact. Okay, am I explaining myself? Do you follow the point? We are getting the list of commitments. We are grouping by reference document numbers, which are all the travel requests. And now I want to see only the travel requests that were approved fully. Okay, I want to filter by statistical indicator, but I don't see it in the report. So I'm going to modify the layout to get this field. I know you are all very familiar with the change layout functionality. So here I'm going to get statistical indicator and a statistics indicator, and I'm going to show it in my report. Okay, they will appear at the end of the report. So now I want to filter by statistical. You see, if a statistical indicator is empty, then it means that the impact is real. So I'm going to filter by that option. So I will apply a filter here. I don't think we need to explain how to apply a filter because most of you are LPs. So I'm going to filter by this condition, right? So we want to click see only real impact, okay? And then again, we collapse everything and we see the amounts. Okay, don't get confused if you see maybe sometimes a negative amount because it depends on where the posting is done or if it was increase at the expenditure and maybe the travel request is still pending to be transferred to FI and FM. So you see here, you can see the list of a list of commitment items. A list of travel requests that have open amounts. So you have basically a commitment, fund commitment analysis, very easy. If you want to know why this is open, here you have the travel request. You can follow up with the travel processor, with the travel office. If you want to check yourself, you can always double click here and jump to the travel request. And on the same, so you basically what you see here are approved travel requests that were not, the travel had not happened yet, or the expense report has not been submitted. Any question about this, Sol? Anything? And some people are asking if it can be extracted into this info to Excel.
No, this is from
the previous one.
From before. So no question.
Okay, so I hope that you have no question because you understand and not because you are not listening to me. So hopefully, hopefully they are following up. So if you think it's clear more or less, please also write on the chat. Okay, someone is asking if I can repeat. So let me summarize. Okay. We are running this report. We are using the report FMRP RFF-MEP 10X. We are running the report for 20 BLA, budget period P19, and the class the class is 105. All right. This is an analysis on the funds commitment for the travel class. As a fiscal year budget period, I'm getting a range that is wider than P19, just in case there is any transaction that were performed before July or after June. Okay, I remove the maximum number of hits, and then I run the report. So what we are going to see in this report is a list of travel requests with an amount. If we group the report, we will see a list of travel requests with amounts. Now, this is travel request because the analysis we are doing is for the class 105. If we do this for a different class, we will get a list of purchase orders, for example, or a list of fund commitments, earmark fund documents. Okay. So if you see, once you group them by travel request number, if you see a 0, it's because the expense report was already processed and the ticket was already expensed, which means this document is not committing any funds anymore. It used to be a commitment, but the expenditure is already recorded. So there is nothing committed. If you want to see, if you see something with positive amount, you will get it. Okay. So now once I run the report, once the report is finished, we will see. I'm not sure it's possible to remove the zeros from the subtotals because I don't think that you can apply the filters of that information. So if you want to remove the zeros, it's better if you export to Excel and then to work with the data from there. Because, and this is something I will mention now once the report is over. Keep in mind that the filters that you apply at the line levels. So the totals are grouping all these lines. If you want to do again this type of analysis, it's better if you do it in BI. So once I get here, what I was doing is to group by reference document number, that is the travel request in this case, and to group I click on subtotals. I was also removing statistical commitments because we wanted to check only the actuals, I mean the real impact in FM. But if you want to see also travel requests that are not approved, you can filter by that. But I think from your perspective it's better to do that. So I went to the layout. I want to display in the report the statistical indicators. This is what I did. Sorry if I'm going a bit fast, but you are all FMLPs, so I think I can focus on what is really important. And then I will filter only, you see, I want to get rid of this statistical non-budget relevant lines that belong to travel requests that are not yet approved or the previous statuses. So I will filter by real transactions. So I can apply a filter here or by a statistical indicator. So I want to filter by real. Okay, some people are saying this is extremely helpful, so I'm very happy to see that you appreciate it. And then I keep in only the real impact. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the statistical, that is before approval of the travel request, right? And then if we want to see only, let's say, where we have commitments. Okay, we will collapse all this. As I mentioned before, this you can analyze further to see why the transaction is out of the. When you see something negative, it means that probably the travel request has not been posted or is posted out of the time frame that we define. But most of the cases are the normal ones with positive amounts, you see. Someone is asking how to get rid of the zeros. I don't think, and if someone from the audience has any trick about it, I don't think it's possible to get rid of the zeros from ECC. This is better to be done from BI, because all these value and filters that you are seeing here, they apply to the lines. Okay, so if you say take anything different from 0 or less than 0, you will be removing lines with negative amounts, and then you will get the wrong report. So this is your report. You extract it like this. If you want to manipulate it, you manipulate it in Excel. Remember, this is ECC, this is transactional, and this is just to give you a hint of what is going on. But if you want to do a more deep analysis, it's better to go to BI. Okay. What you cannot even, I think you cannot even sort by the totals, because if you sort by this amount, you will be sorting by lines. Okay, so that is it's a pity. You cannot do it. But at least I think this is useful. You will have visibility. You will understand how much budget you have committed. For example, we can see here there are 153,000 committed. Okay, so you can go and see these travels when they are coming. For example, this is from April, so it's normal that is still open. And then to analyze this commitment, you can see that if we take one of the, let's say, travel requests, and we want to go a bit deeper on the lines, on this report for commitments, you will only see the impact on the budget side, on the FM side. So you see this one, for example, has 3 lines, and this 355 that you see as negative probably has to do with the ticket that is already issued out. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into travel details, because the idea is that if we want to run this report, if you want to run this report for a different class, you just enter it here, right? If we want to run this report to, I don't know what you normally do. If you want to do it for the full class 100, or you want to do it to furniture, for furniture and equipment, you will run this report in the same way, but you will just select a different class, and that's it. Okay, so that was my main point about the commitments. So anybody, anything to add? Any point? Any question?
No, it's quite good explanation, and I hope it will be helpful for all of you. And before moving ahead, if you don't have further questions about these all postings, I would like just to, because we had a couple of questions. For example, Minuska, they told that they missed part of the session because they had audio problems. Please, if you think you miss a big important part of the WebEx, let us know, and we will find a way to repeat it to you. You will have the links because these sessions are being recorded, but just if you think that you need something extra, just let us know. And one question for Ismael about the two sessions that we have. He was asking that if he was attending to this session, it's possible to attend to the tomorrow's one. It's not possible, it's totally recommendable. In fact, you have to, because these two sessions are independent. We will not cover the same topics today and tomorrow. Tomorrow we will see BI, budget distribution, budget implementation. So it's recommendable if you want to get the refresher to attend to both sessions. Okay? Both of them. So, any question more related with
there is a question from that we will. Yeah, let me just finish this example. You saw that I selected, I ran the report, but instead of selecting 105, the class for the travel, I selected the one from furniture. Just to let you know and to make you aware that this is a very important way of analyzing the commitments, and you will get from here. If you again we group by reference document number, instead of travel request, we are getting now are different type of commitments. And for example, we can see, I think this is a purchase order or an LBA. Okay, so again, if we group by the reference document number, we will see that this is this document that I think maybe is a shopping cart. Yeah, it's a shopping cart, has this amount still committed or pre-committed, sorry. So you can see easily what are the documents that require your action, that they are committing funds. So you see here we have $80,000 that are still committed, 81,000, and then if you need to follow up, you can do it. In order to extract this to Excel is a normal reporting functionality, right? You have here, you can download to local file or to export to Excel. I think from here you can also do it, export to Excel. So there was a question about SC20 class 105. It's a question from
Cecilia.
From Cecilia. Yeah, you were asking why they are able to submit travel requests under class 105 if there is a negative balance. We will need to see the details in production, but probably the reason has to do with what we said about FMEDDW, that the system understand that the budget control is at the superclass level. Okay, but I think they remove. I will need to check because my understanding was that they removed the class 105 and it's not anymore under under class 100. So I will need to check that in production. If you can, it's not. But I don't know if the commitment hierarchy is not on the class 100. But what I'm not sure is if it's the budget control is still checking under class 100. So in principle, Cecilia, as your question makes a lot of sense because the class. Okay. So it should be independent, right? So they should not be able to go beyond the amount that is committed. So we have to analyze that and maybe report it to New York and to get an explanation. Okay. Thank you as well. There was a comment from Basan reminding me to remove the statistical indicator thing. Okay. So I think that's more or less the point for this commitment item. Funds commitment analysis. Okay. So remember the key points are: don't be too conservative on the time frame that you are selecting. Okay. If I display it, we close it finally. Don't be too conservative on the fiscal year period that you are selecting because you are already restricting or filtering by budget period. Remember to remove always the 500 hits, and this added value that we want to give you in this session is use the group for the commitment item, so you filter by the full class, and that's it. And then if you do need to do something really in deep and a deep analysis, I think it's better if you export to Excel or you go to BI, as we will see tomorrow. Okay. So we go now to the actual, to the.
Okay. So let me take change rule to presenter. Let me take back the Can you see? Do you want to continue? Yes. We are going just to, because we have started with the reports. If you understand the reports, you understand the whole functionality of funds management module. But we are going to review very quickly. Yes, let me move ahead. We are going to review this. Sorry, again, I cannot, Here we stopped before, We are going to review mainly, I'm not sharing, sorry. Thank you, David. Yes, let me share my screen. Yeah, here I am. Yeah, here we are. So, just for you very quickly, I don't want to waste time with this because you know more or less, but it's good to just refresh. The fund management in UMOJA, they have three main core components. Budget distribution, we have already been talking about allotments, appropriations, so all the concepts are already been touched, but just for you to put them in the right box. You know, allotment and appropriations fall under budget distribution as well as redeployment. Then we have budget implementation, that is the consumption of the budget, and then the budget closing operations that we will not cover in this workshop because we don't have time enough to review everything. So remember, three main core components in the budget: budget distribution, implementation, and closing operation. And now we are going to refresh very quickly the four main processes that we have in the budget distribution bag, let's say. Which things can we do? What is the budget distribution? We have this. First of all, we have the enter process that is used to bring appropriations into UMOJA. It's recording appropriations, and you have to remember that appropriations are not budget consuming. This budget is not spendable yet. What to do to make this budget spendable? We have to move these appropriations into allotment. How? Through a transfer operation. So in the transfer operation, we can move budget from not consuming to consuming one, from appropriation to allotments. And the transfer comprises as well sub-allotments or redeployment of funds. It's very important to take into account that the redeployment of funds can be done within the same commitment item group. Remember the commitment item groups, we had 4 for peacekeeping missions. Somebody asked before if the groups, classes, whatever are the same for special political missions are and peacekeeping, and the answer is no. The structure is different. So depending on your mission, you have to select when you want to check with these tickets that we saw before, if you are going to check peacekeeping or special political missions, a structure of classes or groups or commitment items. So remember, enter just to bring appropriations into the system, and usually this is done at the UNHQ level. So at mission level, we start with the allotments. So moving the appropriations into consumable or spendable budget and creating a redeployment of funds. Then we have the supplement, that is if there is a need to increase the appropriation or when additional resources are needed, the supplement is used, and this records the increase in resources in the same budget period. Okay? So it's done, as you can read here, once after the original budget has been approved. This is a supplement. And at the very end of the process, the return, the unused budgets or savings that must be given back to the general fund to be returned to member states. Okay, so we have these 4 operations. We are going to see now an example, a common, let's say, this is the most usual cycle of budget distribution. So there is an appropriation that is created at HQ level. Just let me, yeah. And this appropriation, it's approved. You see it's orange at HQ level. After this, at mission level, is created and preposted an allotment. What will this allotment will do? Distribute this budget that has been appropriated, let's say, into the different classes in our, let's say, fund or mission. We'll see examples now. And then this allotment is approved. And afterwards, if we need to redeploy because some changes have been done, or we need to redistribute the budget within our classes, then we create and propose a redeployment that will be approved later on. And at the very end, the check funds availability, that this can be done at any stage of the process. Why? Because as you have seen with this FMEDDW, you will make your life easier when you create the allotments, when you create the redeployments, whatever operation you have to do with the budget. If you open this report, you will get exactly the budget addresses that you need to not to get any error when you perform in this FM module. Okay, so this is a common cycle of budget distribution, and let me show you this appropriation first. We are not going to see this in the system. We are not going to show you the demonstration, but here you have a screen with the main things that you have to take into consideration. Appropriations, as we mentioned before, are made available for commitments or the reservation of funds to meet expenditures during the financial period, and this budget is not consumable yet. It's done at HQ level, okay? And this is a typical transaction in the system of an appropriation. First of all, the process that they use is the enter process. Very important as well, I forgot to mention. This screen that you have here is the FMEDDW T-code. It's called Budgeting Workbench. All the transactions involved in the budget distribution process, but the reporting of the checking of budget availability are done with this FMEDDW transaction. So it's the budgeting workbench. So to create the appropriation, you know, in HQ they select process enter. The document type is APO1, original appropriation, and they type for, let's say, each fund, here it is, the amount that is going to be appropriated or put there. How? They create one unique line, appro, with the amount, and the commitment item is this revenue, let's say, commitment item. So the system automatically, when they create this appro line, generates the appro one. It's automatically generated, and this is how an appropriation, I don't know if you were aware of this because you don't do it at mission level, it's just out of curiosity for you, and then this document is approved. And this amount is, let's say, put in this mission or fund and this fund center. And this commitment item that, as I mentioned, is, let's say, a revenue. Let's say we have this budget available, but we still don't know how we are going to spend it. So this will be done afterwards in the allotment. Okay, this is the appropriation. Let's jump into the allotment. Yes, here we are. This is the screen for an allotment. The allotments are issued for this budget to be, let's say, spendable. So this budget is, as I mentioned, is consumable. So this is done already at mission level. FMEDDW, again, process is a transfer, and document type AL01, allotment. If you think you need to see this in the system, let us know and we can do it a demonstration, not now, but in a different day. So the process is a transfer, document type, as I mentioned, allotment, and things that I want you to pay attention on. The first line that we have here, the line from where we are taking the budget, minus, you see this minus sign, is the APRI line that was, let's say, automatically created by the system when the appropriation was created. And as you can see, this is the exactly budget address that was generated before. The fund, budget period, the fund center, the commitment item. So let's say we are moving the budget from this budget address to this other budget addresses that are budget classes. So here we have our revenue commitment item. And what are we doing? As I mentioned, we are splitting this budget into all these classes. I am repeating it very often, but it's important that you understand this process is done at a commitment item class level. Afterwards, when it will be spent, we will point out the commitment item. But at this stage, we just have to tell the system which are the classes where we are going to put this budget and which amount of budget, of course. And if you realize here, sorry, the total sender and the total receiver of this budget, the amount is the same. If not, the document will not be balanced. It will not be able to. We would not be able to pre-post it, and later on, of course, would not be approved. So this is the, let's say, budget distribution side. We are pending to see the redeployment of funds, but I am afraid that today we will not have time to see this. We will see it tomorrow. And before finishing today's session, I wanted to show you. Here we are, a report, very, very interesting, that is called a drill down for budget entry documents. This report, the code is FM. Just let me. Can you see my screen? Yeah. FMEDDW. Just let me show it here. Transaction. Yeah. Sorry, what happened? FMEDDW. Oh, it's not working. What's happening? But it's not giving me any error. FMEDDW. Something strange we have here because I'm not getting any error, but it's not. I don't know what is going on. So David, can you check if it's working? David is checking it because this is, you can see this is the pink UMOJA is the training environment. So maybe there is some FMEDDW. No, but this is the training environment, so it's very weird. It's not giving me any error. FMEDD, nothing. Can you? So just let me log off and log in very quickly, just to see if. Yeah, maybe, yeah, because I have where it is. Okay. So it closed. So okay, let's open again. Let's see now if it works. I don't know if you know this report, but it's very useful, especially to analyze all this appropriation and allotment, this budget distribution side of the fund management module. Let me check now. again, FMEDDW. Here we are. Yeah, you can see the T code here. So we are going to do here. We are going to change here the budget category. Oh, no, sorry, it's fixed. So, okay, we will not touch it. And we are going to take one fund, this case, the one that I prepared in the training environment just to show you, and budget period, 20 OLA P19. We are going to execute the report for you to see what we can see. It's a very interesting one. You see, here we have, for this fund and this budget period that we selected, all the appropriations or allotments that have been done, the original amounts. So for example, to make the information more clear for you, we are going to select the fund center that is here. Just let me put it in the first place. And I'm going to show subtotals by fund center. Here it is. Here we are. You see? If we collapse all as David was explaining before, we can see the money that has been originally allotted for each fund center. Let me open it again. What else can we see here? You can, for example, group by commitment item 2. Let me add here the commitment item. Let me order it. It will be easier. Commitment item. And I will add the subtotal. So now we have first by fund center and then by commitment item. Let me put it here for you to see it more. Yeah. So this is what we have. The amounts grouped by. So for this fund center, we have for these two commitment items with all the operations that were done. For the, you see, these 6999 commitment items are the ones referred to the initial appropriation. You see, and then we have the ones, the classes referred to the allotment. As you can see, we only have. Let me show you with the filtering. We only have commitment item classes, or these two, let's say revenue or initial classes used in the appropriation. Why? Because we didn't create any commitment, any expenditure yet. So we are just showing appropriations and allotments. So all these operations are done at class level. And what else? I can show you the budget type as well. Where is the budget type? Just let me close this one. Budget type here. If we see the different levels that we have only appropriations and allotments. Okay, so this is a report to have at first sight. As David was mentioning this in the previous hour with FMAB CR02, you can already see the original appropriation. Very good. And here in budget type you have as well. You can order group what is an appropriation or what has been a forward allotment. But as you can see, allotments are linked to commitment item classes, and appropriations always linked to this, let's say, revenue commitment items. So this report, I think it can be very useful for you. David, do you have anything to add to this report? Something interesting? Nothing else? Nothing? Oh, okay. Something just to let you know. In this, I was investigating, you cannot add the commitment item description because, as we mentioned before, it's not easy to understand what is happening with this, the name of the commitment item class. But you can always open FMCIE in a different window and go comparing what you have allotted for each of the commitment item classes. Okay, so I think that's it. Do we have any questions? For today, that's it. Tomorrow we will finish this budget distribution side by showing you and redeployment to a funded program, just for you to see how it is done. And then we will start with the budget implementation side of this funds management module and the BI reports that I think is the most interesting thing for you. Because as David mentioned, all of you are LPEs or LPETs. Maybe all these things you already know, but the reports can always give you extra value to all the things that you do. So guys, any questions?
Yeah, there was a question before about when we were explaining the report on the fund commitments. Okay, we were asking if it was possible to see the name of the traveler in this travel request. So when I clicked on
the microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's better.
Sorry. So yeah, the question was basically, I mean, it was asked by different people if it was possible to see the name of the traveler on the business trip commitments that I was showing before. Remember that this example was for travel only, to give you an idea, but it's also it's possible to do it with purchase orders or any other class. In this particular case, for business trips commitments, when you double click on the reference document.
Do you want to share the screen?
Yeah, maybe.
Just let me give you the floor.
So the one for actual, we will show it tomorrow, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm running the report. If sorry, letting me share my screen. 1 second, so you can see my screen. So I'm running again the report to answer to your question, because it came from 3 different people, so I think it's probably useful. So I'm running again the same report, okay, for the class 105 and then for 20 BLA, which is the fund by the P19. And in this case, I did not remove the limit because I just want the report to finish quickly. But it's taking a while. So as I said before, on the reference document number column, you have the travel request number. If you double click on it, you get to the travel request, but let's say from the ACC perspective. Okay, so if I double click here, I get to a window which is similar. It contains the same information of a travel request, but not from the portal. And then if you see on the header of this screen, you see Ahmed, Hosni, Hassan, Abdel Rahim, personal number, and the trim number. So you have the information that you were asking for. Okay, I hope this is useful. And other than this, I think there are no more questions. There was a comment, a very good comment from Bassam about completion indicator to get rid of the zeros, but I think it's in a different report. I think it's in the other report with the commitment items. From all those things, I haven't been able to filter out the zeros. So, and that's it. If you have any particular issue, you can always write an email. I mean, if you have training-related questions, you can always write an email to us, and then we will try to give you a hand. Yeah, there was a few questions about the header of the trial requests, and that's it. Okay, so over to you.
Thank you, David. So just to tell you, remind you that you will receive tomorrow all the documents that we are presenting to you, and the links to the recorded session. So if you are not able to join any of them, don't worry, you will receive everything. And that's it from our side. Just thank you for your time, because we know that 2 hours is a very long WebEx, and you have been there paying attention and participating. So thanks a lot, and hopefully see you again tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you so much. Do not miss the session tomorrow, because we're going to share also good features and advanced ways of running the reports. So I think it's going to be very good for you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, David. See you tomorrow, guys. Thank you.